Christmas Eve is a time for joy, family, and cozy moments by the fireplace, but for some, it can turn into a night of pure terror. Tonight, we'll dive into 3 terrifying true Christmas Eve horror calls from strangers that will make you question every unexpected ring of the phone. Are you ready for chilling scares, creepy stories, and a nightmarish dive into the unknown? Then stay tuned, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more horrifying tales that will haunt your dreams. This story is about the phantom caller. It was Christmas Eve, and Ava, a young college student, was home alone for the first time. Her family had gone to visit relatives in another state, but she had stayed behind to prepare for an important internship interview. The house was quiet except for the faint sound of Christmas music playing on her laptop. Ava had just finished a late dinner and was preparing to watch a holiday movie when the landline phone rang. The sound startled her. No one ever called the landline anymore. Ava hesitated but eventually picked up. "Hello?" she said cautiously. Silence. "Hello? Is anyone there?" Suddenly, a raspy voice whispered, "Do you believe in the dark secrets of Christmas?" Her stomach dropped. "Who is this?" she demanded, her voice trembling. The caller didn't answer but began to hum a chilling, distorted version of Silent Night. Ava hung up immediately, her hands shaking. Moments later, the phone rang again. She didn't want to answer, but curiosity got the better of her. "Stop calling me," she shouted into the receiver. The same voice replied, "Look outside, Ava." Her heart raced as she dropped the phone. She ran to the window, pulling the curtain aside just enough to peek. Standing under the dim glow of a street lamp was a man in a Santa suit, motionless, staring directly at her house. She locked every door and window, grabbed her phone, and called the police. When they arrived, the man was gone. The officers reassured her it was likely a prank, but Ava couldn't shake the feeling of being watched for the rest of the night. Little did she know, tucked in the bushes across the street, a figure remained hidden, watching her every move until dawn. Ava thought the nightmare was over when daylight arrived, but the eerie events were far from finished. That evening, as she sat in the living room trying to distract herself with Christmas movies, the sound of soft tapping echoed from the window behind her. She froze, her heart pounding. Turning slowly, she saw nothing outside but the dark outlines of the snow-covered yard. Then, as she moved closer to the window for a better look, a deep, guttural laugh erupted from somewhere nearby. She stumbled backward, feeling a cold sweat on her skin. This wasn't just a prank, it felt like one of those true horror stories she'd heard about growing up, only now it was happening to her. Unable to sleep, Ava stayed awake, her nerves heightened. As the hours dragged on, the house grew unnervingly silent. The only sound was the ticking of the clock and her rapid breathing. She decided to check every door and window again. When she reached the back door, her blood ran cold. Written in the frost on the glass was a single word, "Soon." Ava's mind raced with thoughts of dark folklore and haunted tales. Was this a ghost story unfolding in real life? Or something far more sinister, something truly paranormal? Her hands trembled as she called the police again, but they assured her it was likely a mischievous prankster and promised to send a patrol car to circle the neighborhood. The scariest moment came just before sunrise when Ava finally succumbed to exhaustion and fell into a light, restless sleep. She dreamed of distorted faces and echoing laughter, a suffocating sensation pressing on her chest like sleep paralysis. But when she jolted awake, gasping for air, she realized the suffocating feeling wasn't from a nightmare. A weight shifted on the bed next to her. Slowly, she turned her head, and there, barely illuminated by the pale morning light, was the man in the Santa suit, sitting at the edge of her bed, his blank, soulless eyes staring into hers. Ava screamed louder than she ever had before, her voice echoing through the house. The figure vanished before the police arrived, leaving only a chilling reminder of that night. The officers found footprints in the snow leading from her window to the woods, but they vanished halfway, as if the figure had disappeared into thin air. To this day, Ava can't forget the eerie encounters and terrifying tales of that Christmas Eve, one of those true scary horror stories that would haunt her forever. This story is about the midnight at the mall. Luke was working the night shift as a security guard at a local mall. It was Christmas Eve, and while the mall had closed early, he still had hours left to patrol the empty halls. The silence was eerie, broken only by the occasional sound of the wind howling outside. At midnight, as Luke was reviewing the security monitors, the phone at the desk rang. "Mall security, this is Luke," he said. A deep voice responded, "There's someone in the toy store." Luke froze. He hadn't seen anyone enter the mall after closing. "Who is this?" The caller didn't answer. Instead, the line went dead. Luke grabbed his flashlight and headed toward the toy store. As he approached, he noticed the faint sound of jingling bells. He entered cautiously, scanning the aisles with his flashlight. Everything seemed normal until he spotted a life-sized Santa figure sitting in the corner of the store. It hadn't been there earlier. Luke's flashlight flickered as he stepped closer. The Santa figure's eyes seemed to follow him. His heart raced as he reached out to touch it, hoping to prove to himself it was just a decoration. But as soon as his hand grazed its sleeve, the figure lunged forward with a guttural scream. Luke stumbled backward, dropping his flashlight. When he picked it up and shined it around, the Santa figure was gone. He bolted back to the security office and reviewed the camera footage. To his horror, the cameras had caught the figure moving on its own, walking into the toy store. Luke quit his job the next day, vowing never to set foot in that mall again. Despite leaving the mall, Luke couldn't shake the haunting memories of that night. In the weeks following, he began experiencing terrifying dreams. Every night, he would see the Santa figure standing at the foot of his bed, staring at him with hollow, glowing eyes. These nightmare tales blurred the line between sleep paralysis and reality. The scariest part was waking up in a cold sweat, only to hear faint jingling bells somewhere in his apartment. Luke decided to dig deeper into the mall's history. What he discovered chilled him to the core. Years ago, the mall had been built over an old children's asylum that had burned down under mysterious circumstances. Dark folklore whispered of a caretaker who dressed as Santa to cheer up the children, but after the fire, his spirit was said to haunt the grounds. Local urban legends warned against being in the mall alone after dark. These haunted tales were dismissed by most, but Luke knew better. One night, Luke woke up to the sound of his apartment door creaking open. His heart pounded as he reached for his phone, but the screen was frozen, stuck on the last image he had seen, the Santa figure from the mall security footage. Suddenly, the jingling of bells grew louder, and a shadow moved across the hallway outside his bedroom. Chilling scares overtook him as the figure appeared in the doorway. It whispered, "You left the mall, but you can't leave me." Luke never slept in that apartment again. The eerie encounters plagued him, reminding him that some dark secrets are better left undisturbed. This story is about the wrong house. Emily and her husband, Ryan, were celebrating Christmas Eve in their cozy countryside home. The snow fell softly outside, and the warm glow of the fireplace filled the living room. They were sipping hot cocoa and exchanging small gifts when the landline phone rang. Ryan answered it. "Hello." A man's voice, panicked and desperate, said, "Help me. I'm being followed." Ryan frowned. "Who is this? I don't know where I am." "Please, they're right behind me," the man cried. The line went dead. Emily asked what happened, and Ryan explained the strange call. They brushed it off as a prank until a loud knock came from the front door. Ryan looked through the peephole but saw no one. Then the phone rang again. Emily answered this time. "Don't open the door," the same panicked voice warned. Chills ran down her spine. She whispered to Ryan what the caller said. Before they could react, the knocking grew more violent. It was as if someone was trying to break the door down. Ryan grabbed a baseball bat and opened the door, but no one was there. He stepped outside to check the yard, but it was empty except for a set of footprints in the snow leading toward the woods. As he turned to go back inside, he noticed the footprints didn't start at the road. They started from the back of their house. Emily screamed from inside. Ryan ran in to find her staring at the living room window. Written in frost on the glass were the words, "Merry Christmas." The couple called the police, but no trace of anyone was found. The footprints vanished halfway into the woods, leaving behind nothing but questions and fear. Later that night, as the house quieted down and Emily tried to sleep, she was jolted awake by what she thought was sleep paralysis. She couldn't move, and the faint sound of bells echoed through the room. Her eyes darted toward the bedroom door, which was slightly ajar. In the dark gap, she swore she saw a shadowy figure staring back at her. It wasn't until she forced a scream out of her throat that Ryan woke up, snapping her out of the paralysis. But the eerie jingling sound lingered in the air for a moment longer. The next morning, as the first light of dawn broke through, Ryan found something chilling on the front porch, a neatly wrapped box with a note attached. It read, "A gift for you. Don't forget, I'll be watching." Inside the box was an old, rusted bell, similar to the sound Emily had heard in her dreamlike state. The couple immediately decided to stay elsewhere until they could figure out what was going on. But as they drove away, Emily looked in the rearview mirror and gasped. Standing at the edge of the woods was a tall, shadowy figure. It waved slowly as their car disappeared into the snowy distance. The unsettling sight confirmed their worst fears. This was no ordinary intruder. They never returned to that house. Over time, they learned that their property had a dark folklore tied to it, a legend of a vengeful spirit haunting the woods during the holidays, targeting anyone home alone on Christmas Eve. The eerie encounters became a chilling tale they would tell for years, a reminder that sometimes, the scariest nightmares are the ones you wake up to. This is one of those true scary horror stories that makes you think twice about being home alone during the holidays. If you enjoy these creepy stories, paranormal encounters, and terrifying tales, don't forget to like this video, share your own experiences in the comments, and subscribe for more of the scariest urban legends and haunted tales. From creepy Santa imposters to phantom callers and chilling encounters, these true Christmas Eve horror calls from strangers remind us that the holiday season isn't always merry and bright. If you enjoyed these stories and want more spine-chilling tales, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and share your own eerie experiences in the comments below. Sleep well, if you can.